the red flag flying there.
I know I need to do that. Hello and welcome to Socialist Think Tank. We are here with people from the Save Our Socialists campaign. We're just going to start off. We've just shown our premiere of Simon Kennedy, who is he's a friend of mine and he's someone I think really highly of. And he was speaking there about trade unionism. So I just thought we'd get kicked off for the first few minutes talking about trade unionism and any experiences of it we have on the show. So let's start with Helen. Helen, you watched part of that, didn't you? We didn't manage to watch it all because we were going out. We were trying to set this call up. But yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, really interesting, especially the stuff around Cuba and internationalism. Really, in terms of unions, trade unions, I thought the point that he made about they're not necessarily socialist, and people that are in unions aren't necessarily socialist is absolutely spot on. I'm a GMB branch secretary in Reading, and so I sort of go out to different workplaces, well, not physically, obviously at the moment, but supporting people. A lot of it recently has been to do with COVID, sort of teaching assistants in schools and things. But, GMB, locally we are quite left. There's the group of us are socialists. Not necessarily when you look further up in a lot of unions, there isn't that socialism there. It sort of becomes a bit, I guess, managerial, really, which isn't socialism. So, yeah.
Do you know, I've just realised that's a really good comment, but I've just realised I didn't do some very good hosting there. So I'm gonna allow everyone to introduce themselves. So I'm Paul Daly. I'm from Socialist Think Tank, and I also happen to be chair of Sedgefield CLP. However, I am not speaking in that capacity tonight because I speak for my members when I speak in that capacity. I'm speaking in a personal capacity. So I think that's an important point to make. And we'll go around we'll go Alison that way for me.
Hi. Yeah, hi, I'm Alison and I'm the Secretary of Windsor CLP, but tonight I'm here representing Save Our Socialists, which we'll tell you more about shortly. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, we'll go, it's so hard to point because I'm mirrored. There we go. Down there, down there, Helen.
Me. So I'm Helen Caney. I'm Secretary of Reading East and West, Reading District Labour Party, and here same as Alison on behalf of the Save Our Socialist team.
Excellent, and then we'll go to James next.
Hi, I'm James Summerall, and I'm with the Socialist Think Tank team, but I'm also IT and social media for Easington CLP. But tonight I will be speaking in my own capacity, personal capacity, and also a Socialist Think Tank capacity.
Yeah, thanks for that, James. I can we can monitor all your comments. We know what people are saying in any comments or anything like that. We do want questions tonight. We do want people to find out a little bit about what's going on with Save Our Socialists. We would love you to subscribe to all of our channels, whether that's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, like us and follow us and all those things. Share this video about because this message needs to get out because it's massively, massively important that people are aware of what's going on at the moment. And give us a like, give us a comment, give us a little love or anything like that. Anything you want to do on any of those streams is massively appreciated because it does help people find out more about this. Now, we've had Save Our Socialist on. You took over our channel one night and put out what I thought was a really humorous and a really nice, positive video about something that I think is pretty bleak. So well done on being funny in the face of adversity, because it was genuinely funny. Like, there was some laugh out loud moments. You can see that on our YouTube channel if anyone hasn't seen that. But we're in this bleak situation. So what is Save Our Socialists? Why was it set up? And either of you can go. Either of you can take a lead on this one.
So shall I start? So so it was set up by a group of CLP secretaries when we found out that some of our comrades were being suspended, and we felt we had to do something. So a small group of us set up within 24 hours. We had a Facebook page, a Twitter, a website, some branding. Thanks to our CLP chair for some of that. And we sort of acted on it pretty quickly. We launched it the next day. And really, we wanted it to highlight some of the plights of these officers that are being suspended, for really a lot of them because they've been having motions in solidarity with Jeremy Corbyn, because obviously he was suspended, had the whip withdrawn. Some of them were votes of no confidence in the leader and the general secretary, things like that. So we felt that these were unfair, really, and we wanted to do something to help them. And we also set up some legal guidance, because some of our CLP officers are in the legal profession. So they helped us set up some legal guidance, which we put on our website, and we've had 2 calls now with those people to help, answer some of the questions and things like that. So, Helen, do you want to add?
Yeah, I think when you mentioned before, Paul, about sort of the video and the takeover, and that it was sort of funny, one of the, and that it's trying to make positive stuff. I think that's important. With Save Our Socialists, obviously we want to get a lot of information out, but also to support each other, so that there's lots of rules about what you maybe should and shouldn't say if you've been suspended, and all of that, that you shouldn't tell anybody. But it means people are left in these places that are quite lonely, and not necessarily good for mental health. And so part of it as well is about being there to support other people, and to try and be positive about it, in that we're trying to fight back. We're not just sitting there and giving up, and letting the party get away with the way they're treating members. These are the motions and things. They were voted by members. Members chose whether to hear those motions. It wasn't the secretary or the chair that made them do that. They didn't suspend everybody who voted in favour of a motion, but they do the chair and the secretary. So yeah, it's great to be part of, and I think it's really important. And one of the things now, like Alison said about some of the stuff, we're helping sort of with the letters and things and answers, because although the party can take as long as they want to get in touch with you, once you get your letter of questions, you've got 7 days to respond, which is ridiculous when you might be getting, a 20-page list of stuff to answer. And it's having people that you can turn to and say, how do I answer this? What shall I do? Because you want to put answers in. And so sort of providing that support, it's amazing, from just a sort of little chat between a few people, then suddenly, it's got to here. It's great.
And we're aware so far of 70 officers that have been suspended, and we offer a confidential service. So, some of those people don't want to be named, but some do. And if they do, they're happy to have their biography and photo on our website. We'll put it on our website. If they say, no, we need some help, but I don't want to be named, then, we keep it completely confidential as well. So if there are people listening that have been suspended and they want some help, then we would encourage them to email us, and contact us on our Facebook or info@saveoursocialists.co.uk, because we can help them. They might not be aware that help's available to them. So we've also linked up with Momentum as well, and working with their legal team to ensure that we are saying the same sort of things to them as well. So but yeah, there's probably a lot that we don't know, a lot of people that have been suspended that don't know that help's available to them.
See, to me, this is absolutely amazing that, like, something so negative and something so troubling for people has been turned into something positive, and you're here asking for people who may have been suspended, who we know there'll be some people who'll be sitting absolutely devastated at the idea that something that they're so dedicated to in their life, and I'm going to come to that in a second. I just want to give a few shout outs to some people who are making comments. We've had absolutely loads and loads of comments on our different platforms, some on Twitter, some on Facebook. But Susie Williams is there, Esther Giles is there, Mark Lungley is there, Anthony Bardos, Leanne Powell. I'm just going to read out a massive list of names if I continue. Or I do want to mention Ray Goodspeed of Pride fame. So any fans of the film Pride, Ray's watching with us. So absolutely brilliant to see that. Now, what I want to do now is explain things, because we do have viewers on our channel who, this isn't a Labour Party channel. This is a socialism channel. And many of us happen to be Labour Party members, but people who aren't Labour Party members are totally welcome to get involved. And we do encourage that. Not all socialists are in the Labour Party, and not all Labour Party members are socialists, and we know that that's quite clear. What I want to do is define what job does a chair or a secretary do. I'm going to go to James because he hasn't spoken yet, so I'm going to go to James. So what do you think? What do you think is it? Because I know you're not a chair, you're not a secretary, but you do work within a CLP and you do see what those people do. So what do you think a chair and a secretary do? What is their job in the CLP? Because people have different opinions on this.
Okay, I have not looked up the actual definition of the roles of the
That's better.
like the duties of the role. Okay, I've only observed it from say like the start of I think it was March 2017. So I've only observed it really from then on. So all I can really say is a chair is literally a somebody to rally behind, is somebody to take full responsibility of the direction of that of whatever committee or whatever they're running or whatever they're chairing. A secretary role is more to do with correspondence, in my opinion, and the organisation of said existing roles in the executive and within the membership. And also a chair's responsibility is obviously to conduct orderly meetings to whatever rule set or rule book is appropriate to that organisation. That's the way I see it.
It's pretty much it. And if you wanted to have an even shorter answer there, I would always just say they are probably the hardest working people in a CLP. There's loads of people who do loads of hard work, but they are the people who work hardest for the CLP. So they're not the hardest working people who are Labour members in an area, but for that particular CLP, they're the ones who are doing all the work. And it's been mentioned in the comments by Susie that the people are administratively suspended. So their CLPs currently aren't doing that. And for those of you who don't know the Labour Party internal kind of language, constituency Labour Party, so it's like kind of you've got an MP for a constituency. There'll also be a constituency Labour Party there. So I don't like it when people speak down to people and assume everyone knows everything. So CLP is a Labour Party that works within a constituency. So these are the people who have been trusted and voted in, elected by members to do the hardest roles in there. It was quite funny. I've got a little story about last night at our CLP meeting. So we had to re-elect our secretary. I'm going to give a big thank you to Barbara Clare for doing it for so long. She's an absolutely amazing human being. She's been our secretary for years. We had people call her a thug in the Daily Mail. If you ever met Barbara as well, she is the kindest, loveliest person you could possibly meet. And she was called a thug in the Daily Mail because someone wrote in, who was quoted in there, someone from our CLP, wrote in that there was a far-left momentum takeover of Sedgefield CLP. And it was someone who subsequently went on TV and said at the last election, he told people not to vote for the Labour Party. And then kind of went, woe is me, when our local MP lost his seat. It's the logic around here is not very good. But she was called a thug. She was called these awful things. And then last night we had a meeting where where someone volunteered who stepped up and happens to be someone who's in Socialist think tank, Laura, and she stepped up to be a CLP secretary to do the hardest role at the last minute before a set of local elections, and then she was someone in the meeting decided to say that she was basically started doing negative comments. Every single time she has been elected to a position, Laura, she has had negative comments. And this is the kind of hostility that you get as an elected officer. So I would hope the Labour Party nationally would be supportive of their elected officials, because they're the people who people want to be in charge. Is that what's happening here? Are the Labour Party gathering around saying, tell you what, we're paid to do this, we're paid to look after you, we're going to look after our elected officers? So what's happening? Is that, what's happening? Helen?
It just made me laugh when you said that about, people from the party who are actually paid to do this. I remember having an email exchange with the regional office where I was getting hassle from members. I was trying to get answers from the regional office. And in the end, I did say, you're paid for this. I'm just getting hassle for an unpaid job. And they basically were like, well, that's not, so what? Just, well, you're only dealing with sort of me coming to you. I've got, 10 members of the CLP shouting at me and hassling me and emailing me ridiculous things and horrible things. So no, the party doesn't support its officials, elected officials. I don't know the last time I heard from. Oh, actually, we got something yesterday about a postal vote mail out from the regional office, but apart from that, haven't heard from them for months. You don't get any sort of, if there are any issues or you're struggling with anything, this is, let us know. I've never had any correspondence like that, by email or whatever. So no, they're happy for us to be elected and to do this, stressful and busy job, and voluntarily. And then as soon as we do something, or not even that we do something happens that isn't any more in line or any longer in line with what the party thinks or wants, then they're quite happy to throw the elected officials under the bus and sort of say, there you go, just we don't even really care about the CLP because now the CLP is not running because you haven't got a secretary and a chair. And like you say, with local elections coming up, who do they think is going to be organising stuff locally for a party when you don't have an exec of the chair and secretary who do most of the stuff?
Yeah, and you see some of these officers that have been suspended were supposed to be council candidates as well, which is another big problem because if they're not members of the Labour Party, they can't stand as Labour candidates. And some of them have been removed already and they haven't been notified. So, I mean, that's pretty shocking as well. So, can
I ask Alison, what are people being suspended for then? In this case, what have they done that's so terrible? Because, the implication in the Labour Party at the moment, we all know that thing that we can't talk about, and I don't think anyone out of the four of us would deny that there were issues with anti-Semitism. Everyone knows that. That's a matter of public record. Like in any huge organisation, there are going to be some people who have really disagreeable views because the only thing that qualifies you to be a Labour Party member is the fact that you can sign up and pay to be in there. You are not given a test on the way in to find out whether you live up to Labour values. You find that out later. But what are these people being suspended for then at this moment? Because it is being linked to that issue.
Well, I mean, some don't know. They haven't been told why they've been suspended, actually. So they're sort of guessing. It might be because a motion was heard in their CLP. It might have been in solidarity with Jeremy Corbyn. It might have been to reinstate him. It might have been, something like that. Now, we received an email from the General Secretary to tell us that these were not competent business and that we shouldn't hear these motions. So, but some CLPs decided it was, in the because it's democratic to have these motions and get people to vote on them, that it was only fair. And that's how we've always been. We've always, had these motions, and people can choose whether they're moved or not. So I think that's why a lot of people have been suspended because of these motions. But I said there's quite a lot of officers that really don't know. They haven't been given a reason. And I think that's the unfair thing, that they're in the dark. They just don't know.
So, oh, sorry, Helen, you go ahead.
I was just going to say about, a lot of the things, it seems like, with these motions and what people are being suspended for, one of the things with secretaries is knowing the rule book. You have to know the rule book and what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And so people have worked within the rules that we've worked on for years. And then these other things are added. I mean, I think somebody sent the motion around the day before the email came out saying you're not allowed to send the motion, and they've been asked that, in their letter. It's like, well, they sent it before, it's sort of, it doesn't make sense. But also the fact that these things can just change on a whim, and so knowing and understanding the rule book and what you are and aren't allowed to do takes time. And then you're planning for something, and then suddenly something changes, and you're being suspended for something that wasn't a rule. It's not something that you had to do or had to be aware of. And people have linked it to when Jenny Formby said people couldn't have motions in relation to somebody who was under a disciplinary, being suspended, with Chris Williamson, but she only said that it wasn't competent business. There was no threat of suspension for a discussion. You could discuss it, you could put a motion through. It was ignored by the national exec, but it was allowing members to have their freedom of democracy and speech to discuss what they want to discuss. So yeah, it's all very strange.
So I'm going to ask James something now. So you're a member of a CLP and you want people to, you want to bring something forward to the CLP. There's something that you care about. There's something there that you feel passionate about. Mm-hmm. So what if you bring that and you say, look, I've got this motion. I've spent, this amount of time on it. I've worked hard on it. It's something I care passionately about. How would you feel if the chair said, no, I'm not doing that because I don't agree with it? Would that be democracy to you?
Well, obviously not. But even within current Labour Party structures, they don't kind of have a choice whether or not they want to hear your motions. There is ways around it. If you want to use procedure, use procedure. Especially if you think you carry enough weight for that motion to pass. It doesn't really matter about the chair. Yeah, it does matter about the chair's opinion, obviously, but I think it's much more vitally important that chair recognises to hear most motions, whether or not they agree with it in personal capacity or not, or whether or not they even think it's the correct direction for that CLP. The membership, they still need to be held to account to the membership. And if you want to be able to pass motions at an AGM or an all members meeting, you can do so, and the procedures are in place.
So I say, I'm a CLP chair. Sorry, Alison. I'm a CLP chair, and I feel absolutely dreadful. And at the moment, I am turning down motion after motion. People want to speak about these things, and we're being told that it's because our culture is wrong in the Labour Party. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the Labour Party did make huge failures, and it was on dealing with complaints. CLPs, lay members of the Labour Party, didn't deal with this level of complaint. They never did. So why is it that it's been lay members that are kind of getting the blame for this? And the structures of the of the Labour Party, and I'm not blaming any single individual for this. There's plenty of really good people I know who work for the Labour Party, really good people. But why is it that people in the structures of the Labour Party are telling people who are just members, who are just volunteers, you're the problem. When actually we had no say over how well this was dealt with. We had nothing to do with this. Alison, I'll bring you in there. Sorry for stepping on you there.
Okay. No, I mean, that's what I was going to say. There are some CLPs who, are sort of trying to abide by the rules. I mean, we had a couple of motions that we didn't announce in the CLP because we were worried about being suspended actually, and we feel that we can do more work being in our positions than not, because the CLPs that don't have a chair or a secretary, they're basically not able to function, because in most cases they don't have, maybe their vice chair might have to learn then how to use all the membership systems, or the membership secretary they have to rely on other people that certainly in our CLP that wouldn't wouldn't be able to function. So that's a problem too. So yeah, I don't know why they're, I mean, and also they haven't targeted everyone who has heard these motions, so it's not across the board. And I think that's where we believe it might be more of a regional thing, because those that have had these dissenting motions passed, it's been the southwest, London, and the north of they've had the most motions passed, but the number of suspensions has been the southwest, London, and I think Yorkshire. So some of these CLPs have escaped suspensions, so there doesn't really seem to be a pattern there either, which is rather strange. So you do wonder whether certain people have been targeted, certainly.
And I like that at Save Our Socialists and on the takeover, what you did that whole episode, you were able to give, like like Paul mentioned, a good fun spin on that. And also, but I think the data, what you presented in there, was very important to be able to look at from within the Labour Party and also externally, and to figure out why this is happening, who it's happening to. And obviously the data suggests that it's happening in one region and not another. Why is that the case? I think that just needs to be looked into quite a lot. And there's other scenarios where you've went around and it done a lot of data collection and polling, and presented that in that takeover, that I really enjoyed. Being a data person myself.
That's good. We had fun doing it, and we've got one of our members is the forensic analyst, so she's very hot on data, so that's been brilliant. So that was really good, yeah. And we had our weather forecast as well. That was fun to do. So we tried to put some fun into it, but it's a very serious topic, so
yeah, we're very big on forensics in the Labour Party at the moment, aren't we? We love being forensic. Forensic. So I'm gonna bring in a few comments here. We've had Alan Gibbons, who's a bit of a legend of our movement, really, who was told that his wife would then be acting secretary when he was suspended. So yeah. Cheers for that one. Yeah, you're not good enough, but your wife can do it. We've had a few other. We've had Mark Lungley comment that he was given no training for his CLP role, and then he's expected to do that. Like, again, it's down to these volunteers, these normal, ordinary, everyday people. Because I think people mistake the fact that we aren't being paid for this. None of us are being paid for this.
Yeah, it's a common misconception that there's a lot of money in Labour Party politics. I can assure you. The amount of work is basically a full-time job, and we don't get paid an absolute penny unless we go for like some sort of county council position or something along them lines. As a public servant and get elected in there. That's the only way there's ever going to be some sort of money in this. Otherwise, it's full of everyday people, everyday volunteers, activists. That fill that gap. Whereby in reality the amount of work what they do, they should be on a decent term salary basically.
And we've also had an absolutely cracking comment here from Rockstar, who said socialism is nothing but deaths for society. I don't really know where he's got this from. It's really good, but cracking mullet, Mara. I will be growing one of those myself. Thank you. So we do love this. Don't forget to keep on sharing this. Make sure that you do share this so that more people hear from Save Our Socialists. Don't forget to subscribe to everything. God, I feel weird saying that. But Anyway, please do that. Like, share, and subscribe to everything.
Hopefully in future you might not need to do that, because we're gonna some animations might just appear, so you never need to do it.
Yeah, we're doing all sorts of things. You know, we're stepping up
We've
our
got
game.
things in the
So
pipeline.
Very high tech.
right. So people have been suspended, and they've been suspended for doing their job, basically, within the CLP, which is a voluntary job, and they've been suspended. Now, they get that letter, and I've gone on public record to say that I kind of worry about the post every day. I worry less and less, because it used to be a big stigma to be suspended, but it now seems to be a lot more commonplace that people be suspended for very little, but not suspended for big things, depending on your position in the Labour Party, which is really worrying. But, you know, you wait for that letter. Now, what sort of things do those letters say? And I know no one on this call has been suspended. So, you know, you never know. There's always tomorrow. But if none of us have been suspended, but we do know the content, so what sort of things are in there? Helen?
I think some of the stuff is around, I mean, essentially asking you why. Why did you circulate a motion? Why did you let there be a vote on something at the CLP? Will you do it again? Which is a very strange question, because I don't know who would say just outright yes, because they've suspended you for doing it. And so then to ask, would you do it again? Well, you're going to say no, aren't you? Even if it goes against what you
Or not.
believe. Yeah, because you believe that the members should be able to discuss what they want and pass motions on it. And those are sort of the things really that I've
but then also it says at the end of it says, you know, if you need any support, and then it gives you things like the Samaritans and tells you to go and contact the Samaritans and things like that, you know, which is just terrible, because it you know, a lot of these members have been members of the Labour Party for years, you know, and suddenly a part of their life has been taken away from them, really, because, you know, they might not have been chair or secretary or an officer or whatever, but maybe they have, and so part of their life has just been taken away from them, and they don't know what to do, and they feel that they've been treated unfairly. So to say just phone the Samaritans or, you know, one of these numbers, that just seems just crazy to me, you know.
To me, actually, so I used to volunteer as a Samaritan. When I saw that that's what they're doing, you know, Samaritans are there for people who are struggling, you know, with their mental health. But fundamentally, it's about reducing and preventing suicide. And the fact that the party sends a letter saying, oh, you know, if what we've done makes you a bit, you know, if you're struggling, ring a helpline that is for people who are contemplating or on the way to contemplating suicide, and the party think that that's appropriate. You know, they know what they're doing to people. They know the stress that they're putting people under. And yeah, it's horrific. It really is. The thing with the questions as well, though, you know, you get a lot of questions. It's not just a sort of a couple of things that are easily answered. Particularly if you want to be careful and not, you know, say exactly what you think, because that's just going to get you expelled. And so it takes a lot of time to go through them and to make, you know, give answers. And you've got 7 days to do it. And one of the other things at the moment, which I don't know if we go on to, and it's probably going slightly away from the letter thing, but people have been sending in subject access requests. And so again, Save Our Socialists have done drafts of letters for sending in your subject access request.
And to find out what data the Labour Party have on them. That's what that will do, yeah. Sorry. In case anyone didn't know.
But yeah, it's they never reply within the timescale, the 30 days that they should. But also people want this information before they respond to their suspensions, because the chances are that there's communication going on in the National Party between paid staff about individuals And people have a right to see that information, and they should be able to see it. You know, don't say, right, I've been waiting 3 months and you haven't given me the data I asked for, but now you're sending me a letter with 20 questions and I've got to respond in 7 days. This doesn't seem fair. But this is the way the Labour Party apparently thinks it's okay to treat people.
We do have a couple of volunteer therapists as well. That's from Save Our Socialists. So again, you know, if anyone does need support, let us know and we can, you know, put you in touch with them as well. So that's another thing that we can do.
I would say at this point it's really important here to distinguish what we mean by the Labour Party. So I'll talk about, again, my local experience of that. We're about to have county council elections, and there are candidates that I would like walk over hot coals to make sure that they got elected, because I know they have the right principles. I know they want what's best for people, and I will be doing that, and I'll continue to do that. And you know, but they aren't in charge of this process. And a few people have raised concerns in the past, and they've said, is this the time to be bringing this up? Is this the time, you know, when do we bring up like these things? Now, what do those people think Keir Starmer saying that the Labour leadership, the Labour Party members need to improve the culture, or David Evans says the Labour Party members in every CLP in the country need to improve their culture before they speak about X, Y, Z, and basically all the letters of the alphabet, really, because there are so many things that we're not allowed to speak about now. You know, where do you think that comes in? Does that help us get elected? The idea that they've said, we messed this up, this is our members' fault. You know, does that help?
I don't think it does. The only reason, it just to state the obvious, and it's about the Labour Party in general. Like, you've got to think about its party structures. Apparently, the CLPs and branches / wards are meant to be autonomous. Completely, well, not completely autonomous. They've got to stick to party lines, but they're able to be autonomous to the sense that impacts their own motions, congregate, etc., etc. So this top-down mentality of trying to say, okay, well, you cannot say anything to the public. Well, yeah, I can see it from a national point of view, but in some aspects where they like to be united. But the fun fact is, we are united in a common goal, but we're able to have our different opinions and different say on different matters, whether or not you think that is competent business or not, quote unquote. Let's say that it's just being used as a tool. By leadership, in my opinion, to be able to kind of whip people in, like not speaking out publicly unless leadership give it its say so. And it's very authoritarian in its nature. And I've seen it in the past. I just didn't expect it to this degree straight after what seemed like a large ingestion of left members in the Labour Party, basically.
Yeah, it's not going to help. I mean, you sort of imagine going to not that we're knocking on doors, speaking to somebody on the phone, saying, ringing from the local Labour Party. I mean, you can imagine somebody saying, "Well, are you one of the nice or the horrible ones? Are you one of those people who makes things unsafe?" You know, it's this idea that suddenly, basically what they seem to have said with these motions is that in the last sort of 2-3 months, that suddenly all these places, all these parties that had meetings that function perfectly well, suddenly have become unsafe spaces. And I don't know where they've got the evidence for that. I don't, they're saying, well, we're suspended officers. Okay, well, I don't understand, but you've suspended them for something kind of procedural, actually, that in that you didn't want them to pass a motion of solidarity. I don't see how that makes somewhere unsafe. And if you've got a meeting where people are being unruly or rude to each other, then you've got chair to that should stop that and manage the meeting. And it's almost like all of that's just disappeared. They don't seem to understand, or don't want to understand, that that's how it works. And I mean, personally, from my experience, and not because of me being secretary, but before I was, the meetings we had were horrific. You know, the chair shouted and swore and banged the table. First year that I was secretary, you know, and recently, there were people, you know, shouting, talking over you. For me, that maybe wasn't safe. You know, it wasn't a comfortable place for me to be, but nothing happened about that. You know, it took 18 months of repeatedly submitting evidence of, you know, this is bullying, this is harassment, this is having a massive impact on my mental and physical health, and nothing happens, you know. But then suddenly, when they want it to, they can make it happen when they want it to.
Exactly, because some of these, I mean, the suspensions were literally within a day or two of those motions being heard, which, you know, and some of them were sent emails really late at night. It was almost like they were sort of sat there waiting for the motion to happen. And also, you know, obviously things like Organise, which is the email system that we use as secretaries, that's being monitored. So if motions have even been emailed out, those have been monitored and been caught, and in some cases, and, you know, regional offices have said you're not allowed to send this email out, and, you know, so yeah, you know, they do act very quickly when they want to, but when there's really bad things that have happened, yeah, it's taken months. So it doesn't make sense either to me.
Just Organise crashed. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to get on for another 12 hours. Oh, do you remember them emails that you sent? Oh, I think they were in a batch of them 10,000. They magically disappeared while it was down. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and some officers didn't realise that they had been suspended, but they then went to try and get into like Member Centre, which is where we go to get our membership data, or Organise, which is the email system, and they couldn't access it because they'd had their access revoked. And, you know, so they didn't realise that they'd been suspended until they found out, you know, they couldn't access the systems. So again, that's pretty bad as well.
Okay. Question in from Twitch. It says, didn't the Labour Party get Twitter banned? Ignorant American here. No. They not as far as I know. We haven't been, the Labour Party haven't been banned from Twitter as far as I know, but thanks for the question, and also thanks for getting involved and saying that you don't know anything about this. We love questions. Questions are good. I want to ask a very specific question now, and I don't know whether you'll know the answer to this. It's my anecdotal kind of opinion from anecdotal evidence that it seems to be disproportionately affecting women. Is that the case? Are there more women being suspended than men? Because again, whenever I've seen the right attack, they tend to go for women, and I don't know why. I don't know what that is. And some people who are like kind of right wing, I think surveys say that women tend to have more left wing opinions, so there might be fewer women on the on the right. But do you think is there anything in that, or is that just my perception that they're going after women here?
What do you think, Alison?
Just checking to see if we have got the stats. I haven't got them to hand. I mean, I'd say it's fairly even for the ones that have that we published on our website. I'd say it's fairly even actually.
Among officers, I think it is. I think it would be interesting to find out, you know, across a wide like members and membership. I think it'd be interesting to see. That would probably give a sort of better idea, you know, not just because of the numbers, but because it's more people with potentially left-wing views, and if they're women, I mean, I don't know, and who knows what I don't want to let them off at all, but I don't know what the rationale, you know.
apparently it's
think
fairly
it's
even
at the
according to our
moment.
forensic.
Oh, here he is.
It's
I
fairly
was going
even.
to say she'll know. She'll know.
But
What she said,
it's just something.
Fairly even.
She just said it's fairly even between men and women. So
That's what I
it's just in my experience. If they're gonna go after someone, like, so last night, they went after Laura, or sort of after Laura's thing, and really took the edge off her election as secretary by saying there's too much power in one household, because I'm the chair, she's the secretary, and we're married. Not that I just said you've got no power as a chair. If you want to, if you're democratic, you work for the members. That's it. You've got like very limited power as a chair. All you can do is represent the members as best you can. So, but he didn't go after me. He went after. It was a bit strange. I don't really like it. But anyway, I'm going to bring up something here from one of our favourite NEC members, Luke Akehurst. So in a Twitter discussion, he said attacking the hard left is inherently also anti-Tory. As history tells us, their defeat is a necessary precondition of defeating the Tories. Someone replied, so the broad church only works one way then, as we already knew, but thanks for confirming. And Luke replied, I am happy to have you in the church, just as long as you aren't defining theology, choosing hymns, controlling the synod, or being appointed as archbishop. So
Wow.
basically, you can work for the party, you can do all the graft, and as most of our members do identify as left of centre now, I would say, comfortably left of centre, is, the idea that we should just sit down, shut up, do our work, and not have anything to do with policy. Maybe that opinion is why we don't really seem to have policies at the moment. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, he's behind this Labour to win thing, and they've just, they want us to hear these motions from
the group formerly known as Labour to
Yeah.
lose.
So, I mean, I think they're trying to persuade all CLPs to hear those motions. But I mean, basically, that's sort of the opposite to what we're already saying we don't want to hear now, because we're trying to get unity in our CLPs as much as possible and things. And I think things like that, they don't help. So.
No, they say we're too inward looking, and the party is and divisive, and there should be this fair test on motions and all of this. Well, I'm not sure that this motion works in all of those things. You're not bringing unity by basically putting a motion in to tell the rest of the members in your local party that they are divisive and not nice people. It's like saying, well, we're great over here, and you people, you're the ones who are bad and you don't want unity. When my experience is totally the opposite. It's people like Luke Akehurst who are vicious and have such bile to spit at people. I don't know where that comes from. I just, regardless of who he is and what he supports, whatever, I don't understand how people can be that nasty and say those things, and then to suggest that they're the people that are going to make everything good in the Labour Party. I mean, I would love somebody to find a socialist that has said anything anywhere near that sort of disgusting comment, because I haven't seen it.
I think we've probably all worked with like people who are on the left of the party and the right of the party, and so many people can be really nice. You can profoundly disagree with someone politically and still be nice, but it seems to be like Luke Akehurst seems to be defining what they need to be, and he's encouraging people to join loads of socialist societies to make sure that like the same couple of hundred people who can afford to join all the socialist societies. You pay £25, you get a vote in this one, and we'll make sure the right control that. So like, was it the Labour Party Irish Society, Labour Party Irish Society AGM, and by the way, the Labour Party Irish Society failed today to commemorate the 49th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. I think it's the 49th. They didn't mention it, Bloody Sunday. They didn't mention it, but they were packed, with Luke Akehurst type people. There was Wes Streeton was there, and it was the day the school shut, and he was there. Instead of doing that, there's the First Minister of Wales, Carwyn Jones, came and did a speech about how we shouldn't give Irish people self-determination. It was a bit odd. That wasn't exactly the gist of, but the motion he spoke against suggested that there should be a border poll in Ireland, because that's part of the Good Friday Agreement, which is technically now being breached. So they said we shouldn't get involved because we're not Irish. So, and the people who proposed it were Irish or of Irish descent. So there's this kind of weird thing that's going on. But we do kind of get on okay with people on the right of the party usually, don't we? So in our CLP, I'll be perfectly friendly with people who've got quite different economic views than me. Was that everyone else's experience as well? Usually, there's some really negative experiences as well, of course.
We do actually. Our CLP, I would say, is fairly united. We had people in the last election that didn't really back Jeremy Corbyn, but they still came out campaigning for our candidate, and it was really good. And I've always sort of felt proud of the fact that we do have that sort of really quite a broad church. And now it's sort of the tables have turned, but I think we do pretty much have that that unity. But now we're getting a few more coming in that maybe are trying to stop that, and that's annoying, and that's what we want to try and avoid. That's what we've avoided up until now. So, but I do feel that things are changing right now, with new members that are coming in, and they're trying to disrupt some of that unity that we have had, which is odd. So
yeah, I think we're a broad church, a variety of views. One of the things I think that I've struggled with is around doing the campaigning and stuff, and that it was before the last general election, and it was groups like Momentum and people on the left that were doing a lot of organising and getting a lot of people out to canvass and things. But there wasn't, the people on the right didn't want to acknowledge that, and they were quite happy, going out in their little sort of group of 3 or 4 that are them and their councillor and candidate, friends and people that have done the same for a very long time. They don't want to engage to get us campaigning. That's the bit I don't understand. You sort of sit there going, well, let's work together. It doesn't matter, we want to get Labour elected, so let's work together. But there seems to be this sort of, anytime you do that, those people seem to go a little bit, here anyway, they sort of go a bit more closed door, we're keeping up, we're not going to tell you anything, which again, like I say, I just don't understand. But yeah, meetings and everything else, whether you agree with someone's views or not, you can still have a comradely debate. You don't have to shout and swear and call people names, and all of that is just not necessary.
In Easington CLP, we're really fortunate to have quite a united CLP, and also I'll take my hat off to our current chair, Mike, because it can get heated up at very particular points. We were still able to have a very comradely discussion on particular motions that we were speaking about earlier on. And we were still able to have comradely discussions there, and they get stopped at the right moment. They still get the voices heard, etc., etc. There's never been anybody silenced. If they want to have their opinion, you can have their opinion. But within its obviously certain degrees and not filibustering sort of thing. But yeah. I just think that overall in our constituency anyway, we are a broad church and fairly united in, especially when it comes to election times. When it comes to election times, we all everybody there is a rally cry and everybody turns up. You know what I mean? Because we kind of know the value of strength in numbers. So
good.
Okay, I'm going to ask now. I'm going to go back to the chat because we're getting quite a few different people commenting. We're getting more questions from Twitch than anywhere, like specific questions, because we're getting loads of comments elsewhere, but most are statements. But I want to read a couple of the statements. So there was a couple coming in on YouTube. A broad church is no good if a few parishioners are trying to stab the vicar in the back. And there was another one. These unfair expulsions of socialists from the Labour Party will continue while the likes of Starmer and Evans are calling the shots. And a couple of Twitch is great fun because like you get totally different ones. Hi, what do you think about Gramsci? Yeah, it's a whole other show. But thank you for that. And who's the streamer? That would be me. So so we've got someone on Twitter, Red Slumber Puss. Go on strike. See, this is the problem with this is if you're really, really passionate about getting Labour Party members elected, we've discussed this actually. I think, shall we withdraw our Labour? And then we're like, well, there's county council, like say my local ward county councillor. I want him elected because he's brilliant. He's really, really good. And there are so many others that are really, really good. And I was on meetings with them today and they're all really good. And I want them to get elected. I'm thinking, well, if I do that, will that be the difference between them getting elected and not? And I think there's so much conscience with Labour Party members that makes it very difficult. But what I'm going to say is that the next few minutes, like, make comments on those. If you want to put a question in for the last, let's say we'll do another 10 or so minutes. But if you want a question for the panel, then that would be really good. And then we will probably kind of bring it to a close there. Is that about fair for people? Been on for an hour, so you know, stamina. So any comments on any of those comments there, and we'll get some questions in.
I really like that one about the broad church. That description is very good. And I guess you could say that that's pretty much what was happening for the last 5 years, you know, with Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah. Oh, that's about it, really. I don't know.
Quick question in it says it's a kind of a slightly off topic because we are talking about socialism as well. What kind of socialism do you advocate for on Twitch from the amazing Wolf Skeptic? So for me, grassroots, bottom-up socialism. I believe socialism can't be achieved without engaging everyone in that democratically. So that means bringing democracy down to an extremely local level. That's the kind of socialism I advocate. Alison?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about that, really. Labour, you know, with grassroots and getting everyone involved. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people join the Labour Party. I mean, I don't know what it's probably the same in your CLPs. We probably have about 10% of our members that actually do something. You know, they're all members. But, you know, so I'm trying to get more people engaged and things like that and trying to make things more interesting. So, you know, make our meetings more interesting so that we get more people involved and, you know, just, yeah, get more people involved and so that they feel that they can make a difference really as well. So, yeah. Helen?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the grassroots. I think me as well. Well, I don't know if this is just a sort of explanation of what socialism is, but you know, for me it's about being totally inclusive of everybody. You know, you don't exclude people for any reason. You engage with everybody and you're all sort of not working or fighting, but yeah, working towards a future that's better for everybody. You know, that's you engage from the bottom up and in a way that is about making everything better for everybody. So it's not about some people, you know, a few people at the top that come up with the ideas and then tell everybody what to do, and they get richer and everybody else, you know, like we've seen during COVID. that everybody else gets worse off. It's about working towards that and working towards that as in an as inclusive way as possible. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks, James.
Mine's what type of socialism I really advocate for is more of an inclusive, democratic, and empathetic society that distributes wealth it is equally as possible, with still their ability to be able to for enterprise and also progression in life. Essentially, I just believe the type of society that we have right now is not as caring and as sharing as it could be. And I believe a socialist platform could achieve that in a better way than what we currently have, as long as them democratic structures are in place to be able to control measures that are put in place, because usually in a socialist society you give extra rights and abilities over to the state to then make decisions for the public good. So there needs to be a big trust factor built within that, and also systems in place to control them properly. It just when or if an implementation of a democratic socialist society in England takes hold properly, that would need to be considered. And I think the only way to do that, as you have said, is grassroots fed, and maybe try and break up the system to be more distributed, such as instead of having all of the decision making processes centralized into London, to be able I don't know, say have 3 or 4 democratic hubs in each of the regions, and then they congregate centrally, geographically as well.
You haven't thought about that one much, have you, James? You know, that was quite quite wide ranging. That was really good.
Discuss politics daily.
Okay, a few quick ones, and I think we can do this by a vote or just one word. Will the suspension culture ever end? From Anthony Bardos. Vote yes.
Once all the left are gone, yes.
It's a funny question, isn't it? If it's a closed question, it's kind of, yeah, eventually it probably will.
We hope so.
Yeah. An open question would be, how long would that take? And yeah. So the next one, what could Dave now do to save Labour from this downward spiral? Is the answer to that resign? Yeah, that's David Evans, I'm assuming. Yeah. I think it's resign. And I think our CLP voted no confidence in his leadership, because we simply couldn't talk about anything in a meeting, and our meetings became silly.
And don't forget, he hasn't been officially elected. So.
No, he's not been confirmed, has he? So yeah, I think the answer to that one is resign. Yeah. So what policies would you want Labour to focus on more? I'm going to say the 10 pledges here. I liked those 10 pledges. I wasn't a Starmer voter myself, but I could get behind those pledges. We pretty much agree with that one, because we've got lots of questions in, and I need to kind of 10 pledges. Would they do?
Sticking to the 10 pledges. Would be
not the opposite.
I think organised, quote unquote organised left within the Labour Party kind of needs to take him to town to them 10 pledges, in my opinion, to see if he's upholding them 10 pledges. And I think once the annual conference comes around, that should be a part of upholding them 10 pledges to the policy decisions that he's going to be coming through with.
Yeah, check out the pledge motions on Northern England Labour Left's webpage. There are model motions, and all they do is they ask for Keir Starmer to honour his pledges, which is the least I think anyone could do. But if they're a pledge, otherwise there's something else. Okay, so we are now up to when we do take over the party, hopefully we need more Machiavelli and less Gramsci to deal with the Labour right. That's from Paul Smith. I wonder if it's the Paul Smith. That would be good. Awesome designer. Love cycling. The Amazing Wolf Skeptic, would markets still exist in your ideal world? So market socialism, I mean. Probably for another show, but a very, very quick one from people there.
Do you want to sit and spend the next 2 hours of me explaining how we can how we can sustain a capitalist system within a socialist society? Because it is possible. You just need to go into the intricate details of how to control markets in particular scenarios, and I think that's all we need to discuss about.
Are we all okay with that, panel? That sounds good. So, Red Slumber Puss has said he loves this show. Really good quality images and sound. Well done. Yes, James, we did it.
Well done. Technical whiz.
So, and when I said, "What do you think about Gramsci?" I want to know, in the US, for you, with hegemony concept, is it possible to produce a socialist country, a country where it is possible putting together the concept of equality and freedom? Is it possible to reconcile socialist ideas in a complex party like the Democratic Party? I'm not. My short answer to that was there would have to be a radical overhaul of the political system. All of our political systems, whether that's the US system or the UK system, they're all designed to keep the status quo, to keep the establishment. So you saw Donald Trump probably would have wanted to have done some different things, probably some more extreme things in some respects, and there was mechanisms in place to stop him from doing that. There's an inertia in government, so I think maybe things would have to change quite radically in order to do that. That fair?
Yeah, I think socialism in the US, they're quite scared of it. I think they believe it's communism. So I think it'd be good to say there's a difference, really. I work for an American company, so I can probably say that. But I'm always trying to explain that it's not the same thing.
Again, that goes back to the grassroots thing. We've all said grassroots. It's going to need to come from the bottom up, because I think, like, the COVID crisis and everything like that, if it had been, so many people I know have advocated the correct strategy at every stage. Like, they've and people have said, I know Boris Johnson's called Keir Starmer Captain Hindsight and ridiculous things like that, and maybe it is in his case because he didn't say it at the time, but we were saying it. We were saying these things, right. and people who weren't in the Labour Party were saying these things. It wasn't exactly difficult, but we could see they were trying to defend their friends in the economy, and actually I think there was a bit of disaster capitalism in there, but that's for another time again. Sorry, I'm talking too much. Mia has said the grassroots socialism you advocate really comes across in the way you and others present Socialist Think Tank. Thanks, Mia. A really great viewer of ours. I feel like Mia's a member. She's appeared on our shows before, so I always think of Mia as being a member of Socialist Think Tank. And
on Facebook, she has a tag for a top member, right?
She's
like where you get the little badges and stuff, they're very much involved in all the shows.
Yeah. I think the 10 pledges thing that we said was very popular. Susie Williams, what James said, well done, James. And Laura, big shout out to our graphics people. Rochelle Charlton Lane. James has done all our website and stuff, and the graphics that you see are all Rochelle, and I think they look great. They're absolutely brilliant. I'm going to finish off with this comment and then final comments from the panel. So great to hear from Labour women, such a breath of fresh air, and thanks to Paul and James. So I guess that's thanks to Socialist Think Tank. We could have had an all-female panel, couldn't we? But what we had is we had a situation where we discussed it with the half of our channel who are women, and they wanted a night off, and they deserve it because they've been working incredibly hard. So fair play to them, and they're still on the chat doing what they do. So they haven't really had a night off, but solidarity to them. Will we be doing podcasts with other socialist podcasts? We try and link up wherever possible. We've got next week we've got Paul O'Connell on, who is very involved in the running of the Political Education Project, which is a really, really, really good project. Sign up for that. So coming up on a week today, Paul O'Connell will be on there. So all our podcasts are available from your normal podcast providers, YouTube as well. There's a load of back catalogue there. So we like to work. We keep on asking Lastcast to work with us because we love them. But, and they keep on saying yes, but we never get a chance to do it. So we'll do that. Right. Okay. Oh, and we've got some...
just to say on the schedule part, you can go on the website if you wish. I just the links in the chat for Facebook, that is. I'll go ahead and post them. But you can keep an eye on the upcoming schedule there, including the remaining of this month.
Great. Thanks, James. So I'm going to come to Alison and Helen to close us off here. So what can we do? What can we do to support Save Our Socialists and those members? And remember, there will be someone out there who has been probably suspended for doing something wrong, but we don't feel that these people have done anything wrong by allowing democratic votes. So what can we do to support these suspended members rather than just give them a phone number for Samaritans?
Exactly. So if you do need our support, first of all, follow our Facebook and our Twitter pages. Have a look at our website, saveoursocialists.co.uk. And if you do need support because you have been suspended, you can email us at info@saveoursocialists.co.uk. And everything that you tell us will be confidential. If you do want to go public and have your biography and photo on our website, then obviously we can do that. But if you don't, you just want some confidential advice, then email us and we'll be able to point you in the right direction and offer you some support. And thank you very much for your time. It's been great.
Helen, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to say that one of the things that I love, we mentioned women just before, that this Save Our Socialists is actually a group of 6 women, which is, it's a good thing. And that's really great. I think also the fact that, we're demonstrating solidarity with, like me and Alison, we're not suspended, but we're, it's solidarity with members who are, and being able to be there for other people and provide support and challenge, and not just go, this is too big and they're too powerful, but actually no, we're the members and we're going to stand up. We're not just going to lie down and let you walk all over us. And I think that's if you're up for that, then check us out.
Thank you so much. Right, I'm going to say goodbye there. We've had some really lovely comments, so thanks to everyone who's commented. And the person who was asking about Gramsci was actually looking to set up something in a similar format. Apologises for their English there, where it's actually probably better than mine, and certainly far better than my Italian. So thanks a lot. Maybe we'll look into maybe collaborating internationally as well. So please do get in touch. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll give you a wave, and I think we will say goodbye there. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Solidarity.
Thank you. Solidarity. Bye.
Keep the red flag flying here.